In the year 722, history was changed forever. In the towering mountains of Asturias, a small band of warriors prepared for battle. They were 300 strong, farmers, outcasts, and exiled warriors. Their enemy, a seemingly unstoppable Islamic force, thousands upon thousands strong, sweeping across Iberia. The Visigothic kingdom had fallen. All resistance had been crushed, except for one man who refused to kneel. His name was Pelagius of Asturias, and his fight was only beginning. A land in chains, a kingdom in ruins. By the 8th century, Iberia lay under complete Islamic rule. Muslim forces, now firmly entrenched, were pushing northward, even daring to raid into the heart of southern France. The Visigoths, once rulers of these lands, had been shattered, their warriors slain or scattered, their kingship no more than a whisper of the past. The dream of a free Iberia seemed lost, drowned under the banners of Al-Andalus. But one man had not given up. One man still dared to dream of freedom. Pelayo, the last hope of a broken people. Pelayo, once a noble, had paid the price of resistance in blood. Captured by the Muslim rulers, he had been dragged before them in chains. But he was not a man to surrender. Seizing his chance, he broke free and vanished into the wilds of Asturias. And there, in the cold and untamed mountains, he gathered those who still had the fire of defiance in their hearts. They were few, but they were enough. The rallying cry of a lost nation. The Umayyad governor of Al-Andalus, Al-Kama, was furious at this defiance. To him, these rebels were nothing more than an insult, an affront that had to be erased. He would not send a small force. No, he would send an army so vast, so overwhelming, that it would crush all hope beneath its feet. Tens of thousands of warriors marched north, a tide of steel and fury, ready to drown the last ember of Christian resistance. Their banners flew high, their swords gleamed in the sun. They were certain of victory. The Christians would be wiped from history. But in the mountains of Covadonga, something unexpected awaited them. 300 warriors stand against an empire. Pelayo and his men stood firm. Just 300 against a seemingly endless army. Each warrior had been hardened by exile, each one carried the weight of his fallen people. There was no retreat. There was no surrender. They had nowhere left to run. The night before the battle, it is said that the most holy Blessed Virgin appeared to them, offering her divine assurance. They did not stand alone. With God on their side, they would defy the impossible. And so, they stood. The fury of Asturias unleashed. As the enemy advanced, the Asturians did not waver. They held their ground, shield to shield, sword to sword, the jagged cliffs at their backs. The invaders surged forward, expecting an easy massacre. But they did not understand the land. They did not understand the warriors who fought for it. The narrow pass of Covadonga turned their numbers into weakness. The mighty cavalry of Al-Andalus was useless here. Their formations broke. They were packed too tightly, unable to maneuver, unable to fight effectively. And then, the true battle began. From above, arrows and boulders rained down. The Christians struck with unrelenting fury, hacking through their trapped foes like a storm through dry grass. Panic spread. The mighty Umayyad army, so certain of victory, turned to flee. But there was no escape. The reckoning of the invaders. The mountains, so often a place of refuge, now became the enemy. Warriors slipped and fell, crushed beneath the retreating ranks of their own army. Hundreds perished. Then thousands. By the time the bloodshed was over, the invincible army of Al-Andalus was no more. Their general, Al-Kama, lay among the dead. And Pelayo, he stood, bloodied but unbroken, victorious on the battlefield. The first victory of the Reconquista. Pelayo was no longer just a rebel, no longer just a warrior. He was something more. He was a king, the first king of Asturias. And with his victory, the Reconquista had begun. The first crack in Moorish dominance. Word of the triumph spread like wildfire. The illusion of Umayyad invincibility was shattered. What was once thought impossible had become reality. An Islamic army had been utterly defeated. The fight for Iberia was far from over, but for the first time in a century, there was hope. 700 years later, the struggle would be complete. Iberia, once ruled by the Moors, was reclaimed in full. From the fires of battle, two mighty kingdoms arose, Portugal and Spain, nations that would go on to shape the very course of world history, their influence spreading far beyond their borders. The legacy of Pelayo, a nation forged in fire. Had it not been for the indomitable Don Pelayo and his 300 warriors, Iberia might have been lost forever. But through faith, through courage, and through unwavering defiance, he did not just fight for a kingdom, he defied fate itself. A lesson for our time. Today, we face battles of our own. The world tells us that our struggles are futile, that resistance is useless. But history speaks otherwise. The story of Covadonga is not just a tale of the past. It is a call to arms, a reminder that even the smallest spark can ignite an inferno. So stand firm. Hold fast. For if God is for us, who can be against us? Gloria Deo in excelsis. If you believe in the power of history and the lessons it holds, subscribe to our channel, leave a comment below, and share this story with others. Let the spirit of Covadonga live on. Subscribe for more untold stories of history and courage.